just going to tell us where we're going to be going, but thank you so much. Now, when we get to Amman tonight, it'll be the last when we check in. There'll be an opportunity for those of you who have not done the form to do so. And Susan's kind of a guru. She's done a great job working with many of you, because the form is not easy to do, as you've all discovered. It's not easy to do. And there's the date that shows up sometimes, some of it will say 0604 instead of 07, and that has to be changed. So, yeah. But we can work around all of that. Now, Steve Perota is going to open us in prayer. Let's listen up.
And Lord, bless this day. Thank you for the many wonders you've shown us already. But it's a reminder that the historic creation is part of our home. Please show us these holy places we're going today. Not the ground that Moses was on and never seen the promised land that we've been able to do. Jesus was able to give us. Bless this trip. Give us a hedge of protection around us as we travel. And bless this team and bless all of us. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you.
After he buried his brother, my friend, if you remember, in Numbers 20:21, he sent messengers to the king of Edom, this king who was in charge in this area. And he told him, let us go through the king's way. Do you remember that term, the king's way? We saw the sign driving to Petra. We are now on the king's way. And we will take another part of it later in the land of Moab. So this part was in Edom, the king of Edom. Moses wanted to continue on the path which was called the king's way. So when we say the king's way, you think of like maybe a certain king this was his road or something. Actually, it comes from the Hebrew word of name of this road. They call it Derek Hamelech. Derek means road. Melech is Melech is king, but the meaning would be like this is the king of the roads, or the road that is the main one, something like the main road. So yeah, it's not really a certain king. Besides, it's not kings like a plural. It's an apostrophe. Yes. So king's way, we call it, or king's highway. So Moses says, I want to go through the main highway. Let me go through the main road. And the king of Edom replied to Moses with a negative answer. You cannot go through. And he prepared his army to fight with the Israelites. Moses then decides not to fight and like to do a detour around it. So he did that, and he didn't continue on the king's way. We find him later on fighting with another king who refused to let him pass through his land, also king of the Amorites. His name was Sihon, or Sihon, the king of the Amorites near Mount Nebo. I'll show you his capital today when we pass it. That king was defeated by Moses. So we have two appeals. One in the south, was rejected, but no war. We are not giving a reason why, but could be that the Edomites and the Israelites were related. Now these people, the Edomites were descendants of Esau, right? The Israelites were descendants of Jacob. Both Esau and Jacob were brothers, or twin brothers. But the Bible doesn't say anything about why Moses didn't fight with this king and he fought with the other one in the north. So this is the last part of the Exodus. We are taking now a little bit of the king's way, then we make a detour back to the land of Moab, where we climb Mount Nebo today. Today we will, well, maybe that's a term that I shouldn't use. We climb Mount Nebo. Actually, the bus will take us to the summit. Don't worry about it. The climbing will be, if you decided to do that, in the Mukawer, which is where John the Baptist was beheaded. And once we get there, we can see how the views are, how you feel. Okay? We can do that if you like. The first one will be sunrise, with sunrise prayer, which also these days announces the start of the fast. So when they hear that, it's full of prayer, but also tells the Muslims that this is the time you stop your eating and drinking until the sunset prayer. So from sunrise to sunset calls of prayer. Within those, there's the noon prayer, the afternoon prayer, then there's the evening prayer, or the supper for the Isha, which is after sunset, 1 hour like after. And all these timings for prayer depend, as you can see, on the sun and the moon. Sunrise, sunset, noon. So the prayers is different in the months. And if you wonder what noon is, that means 12 o'clock, right? 12 o'clock prayer. Well, it's not necessary 12 o'clock. It is noon, like midday, which means the time of the day when you have, if you want to define it, the time of the day when you have the shortest shade of any standing object. And that's how they decided it before. They have like a pole to see how the shadow of it moves with the sun, the earth going around. So it's the time when you have the shortest shadow and it starts getting. So it is, noon prayer can be 11:30, can be 11:15, in the winter, for example. In the summer it can be 1 o'clock. So exactly. And so on. So it's just for you to. And in that capital, which is called Dibon in the Bible, Dibon, today we call it Divan. A big discovery took place in 1868. The big stone with an inscription on it. And it's called the Misha stone. Written by that king. There in the Bible we find in the 2 Kings chapter 3, Misha, the rebellious king of Moab, according to the Bible. And for him, he was the one who delivered his liberated his land from the Israelites. But again, in history, there are two sides of the story. How you read the story. It's one of the big discoveries that happened in biblical archaeology. And the original stone is currently in the Louvre in Paris. Like most of our important pieces. But how it got there and what is it, I will tell you once we get where we discovered that. So you can, if you ever go again, maybe some of you went to the Louvre already, but if you go, you need to search for that stone. That's what I did when I took my kids. I need to ask where is it, because everybody is lining for the Mona Lisa, and there's crowds in that room. But when I went to that room, the Oriental, they call it the Oriental section or something, there was nothing, nobody. So I asked my kids to pose near the stone for 10 minutes. Took pictures, just taking pictures, to have the attention of the people passing by. So they started to look curious, what are these crazy guys doing? And they would approach me and they start looking at the tags there. Said, okay, now they know this is from Jordan. It's in one of the corners, you don't see it unless you search for it. Bedouin tent. This is going toward the wilderness, and we will be there soon. It's called the Desert Highway. Stay in a Bedouin tent. Who was a Bedouin in the Bible? Abraham moved in a tent, right? Jacob moved in a tent. Who was a tent maker in the Bible? Paul was. So tent making and living in tents, packing, this was part of the life back then. Today the people who still do this kind of life in the desert, we call them Bedouins. Bedou or Bedouins. And most of them are settled today in towns and villages, as we said in the first day, but some still do the nomadic life of our desert. The landscaping is changing, as you can see, more toward the desert. 78% of the land in Jordan is desert. So our land is 90,000 square kilometers, which is like 33,000 square miles. The whole country. So it's probably less than the smallest maybe state. But 78% of this land is desert. So we have 85% of the people, they live on the other part, which is the 22% of mountains and plateaus. And that's mostly northwest. So when we get to Amman and to tomorrow to go north, you will see larger communities, larger towns, more greenery, let's say, in the northwest. That's why the people live there, actually more. In the south here we have smaller communities, and for example, Jarash, the site we will go to tomorrow, one of the Decapolis cities in Jesus' time. Beautiful Roman site today, excellent. The most well-preserved one in the Middle East, they call it. City of the 1,000 columns. That's tomorrow. But that site is in a province, we call it Jarash province also. So Jarash city and Jarash province. It is the smallest province in Jordan, area-wise. This area here, where Petra is, where we are now, this is called Ma'an province. And this is the largest province in Jordan. When we talk province, it's like saying states, but it's not really a state. We don't have a state law, it's all central government. But for elections and for services, they divide it into what we call governorates or provinces. So we have 12 of them. So the number of people living in this province, which is the largest province, is less than the number of people living in the smallest province, population. Because of the weather and of course the landscape. So you can see very wide but very small community. Seems like we're gonna have some adventure today with the sandstorms. And as we try to get through this trip, that imagine how God dependent the people were walking through this land. How they had to depend upon God for finding water, for finding food. And isn't that the case for each one of us, whether it's the tests that we have to go through, the results, whether it is the discomforts we face, or the schedule we keep, or all the technology and the things that don't line up, it still basically gets back to we ultimately trust that God cares, provides, looks after, and is our
source. I remember somebody one time challenged me such that I went through this 23rd Psalm and tried to teach it, and I couldn't get past the first part of the 23rd Psalm. And you know the very first line, all of us do. What is the first line of the 23rd Psalm? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Well, it challenged me to think, what is it that I want that God can't provide? And if He, in fact, is my shepherd, is there anything that I will lack? There isn't anything really that we should lack. He truly is our shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. Whether it is each step of this trip, each step of our lives, each step of issues and challenges that we try to keep up with through texting and the families and the responsibilities back in the various places we call home. The Lord is my shepherd. It's very personal. Very, very personal. He says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I heard a preacher one time at a law enforcement funeral where the preacher really got wound up, and he paused and he said, the only way you can have a shadow, the only way you can have a shadow is to have light. What light takes us through the valley of death? If it's not the light of Christ, then we're not going to be taken through the valley of death. The shadow, because the light of Christ provides the shadow. We hear about the alignment of calendars between the Julian and the Gregorian, trying to bring order out of chaos. Man's tried to do that for all of the generations and the centuries. And it's trying to take that which is complex and make it understandable. But really, we're always going to remain facing a God who's beyond comprehension and is mysterious and is only known through Jesus Christ. I think as we go through this,
from biblical times. They were used, and they were given instructions to people that don't move the border line with your neighbor, because it was very easy to move. It's just at that time no GPS, no coordinates, for the land. You just put like some 4 piles of stone on corners of your land. That's to mark the boundary with your neighbor until you build a fence. So at night you can come out and move the spouting stone a little bit, and that will change the border. We were told not to move it, not to change the boundary marker. So if you haven't seen those, you will see at some point some stones piled, or even marking something. The Bedouins may use these in the desert to mark the trail, for example, or to mark sometimes a grave in the desert while they are traveling in the past. They lose people, while traveling, so they bury them wherever they are deceased. So they bury them, put a pile of stones so people know that there is a grave here, because in our tradition also we try not to step on graves. So they mark the head where the head is, and then they put like stones to mark the boundary of the grave, so people do not step on it, and they go around it. Which looks like unfinished, or it looks like from the outside that unpainted, without a window at some point on the second floor. Most of the towns here, you would see simple buildings first of all. Even if you go north to the bigger towns, you will see this kind of roofs with columns appearing on the top without it being roofed, or with even only like iron, the reinforced bars that come with rebarring, coming out of the roof. Why is that? Most of our buildings, you notice, they have flat roofs. You see very few with pediment-like shaped roofs. Only flat roofs you see it. And the columns there, or the bars coming out. That is because people here, they plan their home for future expansion. So they want to have, at some point in their life, more space. The second floor would be the ideal thing if they have limited land around. So they, especially in the countryside, when you have the male kids grown up and they want to establish a family, they are expected to stay within the complex of the parents. So they may raise one floor up and start the family, the new family on that floor, or 2 floors or whatever. They have land around, they build separate units. But they are expected to stay, or easier for them to build second floor than to go and buy land and land. The land is already their family land since generations. So many, or say none of the residents of these villages that we pass would pay rent. Even a very small and very simple home, they have a unit to stay in. Although there is lots of poverty in southern small villages, but at least the residency is there. So these columns are to build another floor. They leave it like this, thinking that it is easier to have the roof in the future. So they do the columns on the first floor. Besides the law here, which is based on the Ottoman law like 100 years ago, will not consider that the second floor until you put a roof for it. So if you are talking about, for example, registration and taxes and these things, your taxable area is calculated based on the roof area of your property. So you have the first floor roof, that's tax possible. Second floor, no roof, only the columns. That's not calculated until you put a roof on. And once you put a roof, you have 5 years to finish the building. If you live in a countryside like these villages, they will not be very strict about it. But many people, they may finish it without painting it. So it looks like it's still unfinished. So yes, they take their time building, and they have these rules here in Jordan, which is sometimes nice. For example, I live in Amman now. My father owns the property, so he gave me his roof. I used to live away after I got married, but when my mom passed away, he gave me the roof so I can build on top of it. So we be close to me. So I built the second floor. I have to pay for the second floor, but he saved me half the cost maybe by giving me the roof of his place. Yeah. Now my roof goes to my brother who is in Florida now, so he's not thinking of building. So I'm using the roof. Well, you can see in this town, by the way, how those columns on the left. You can see that each house, I was going to tell you this, each house has a tank on the top. They have like certain either metal or plastic white tanks. You see them? This is for water. Because even though we have pipes of authority water coming to your house, you don't get it 24/7. Or you don't get it every day. So you get it in most parts of Jordan, you get it once a week. So what to do for the rest of the week? We have these tanks to store water. So that day that you get water, it fills these tanks. You can put as many as you like. And during the week, you'll be consuming water from these storage tanks until next week comes. So usually our people here like to be prepared for 2 weeks, just in case you didn't get the water for some reason. And so you can put as many tanks as you like. You can see the tanks everywhere on the roofs. And you see most of them, they have flat roofs, right? There's the line of the railroad line, which there you can see there's a small bridge there over the line. There's a line for railway, which is about 110 years old. So that goes to the Ottoman Turkish time. Remember the rail we saw in Wadi Rum? I told you this is the extension of the original one, where the train was and the fighters were acting. And this is the original one. This one is, I can see the line now closer to there it is. Okay, it's just by the road now. We're crossing a bridge. You see it continuing on the left. This is a narrow gauge rail. So it's a very narrow, you can't put a modern train with a wide gauge on this one. This is still the original rail. And used to have the steam train going on it. Then today it's diesel engine trains carrying some phosphate from the mines to the port of Akka. So we don't have any passenger trains in Jordan running on this rail or any other rail. We don't have trains in Jordan nowadays. But this is the old one, and we have trains running from the desert here to the port of Aqaba carrying the phosphate. Because it can take loads of phosphate, and it doesn't matter if it's slow or not. You know, at the end, if it takes them an extra day to get there, it's fine. It will reduce cost because of the load they can take. So these piles of sand here that you see on the left, this is part of the phosphate mine. So it's like surface mining, they call it. They just have to take out maybe 30 feet or more of the sand to reach the layer of phosphate. So they pile what is on the surface, they pile it like this. Okay. they get to the phosphate layer, they take that to be purified in one of the facilities that I will show you one of them, and then they export it, or they take it to be used to the factories that produce fertilizer in Georgia. So one of our major exports in the country are fertilizers and phosphate, raw phosphate. Solar energy, and maybe you saw some of the windmills. We passed some solar energy and green energy is possible in many places in Georgia. So far the most common thing is the solar panels that heats water. It heats the water for taking showers in our home. We have one. But to have a system for electricity for the whole building, it's possible and available, but it's still expensive to invest. Because the break even will be after 12 years. So by that time you need maybe to put a new system or something. And it's not encouraged, let's say. They say they encourage it, but it's not encouraged by the government practically. They still add customs and more cost for that, because they sell us energy and they take good taxes on that. It's part of the income of the government. We hope they will change policies, and I'm planning for one once it gets reasonably priced. So now you need like maybe 7,000 for a system, which can be done for 3,000 for one house. One of them, this is because they send the sand with phosphate to be washed and dried. They wash it and dry it again, so you get more pure phosphate in those that washed sand. They after drying it, they take it to the process, into fertilizer, or export it mainly to Pakistan, to India, to China, to make fertilizers in their land. Phosphate is one of the very important. I think you have it in the States also. Many countries they produce phosphate. Jordan used to be one of the top 10 producers of phosphate in the 1980s. But we are not anymore. Many countries started to produce and make fertilizers from phosphate. A nice place in Mukawer. And they have also this big place where you can buy and spend some money, souvenir place. It's a nice collection inside. Remember, this afternoon we will stop you to see how they make the mosaics in Mount Nebo, not here. But this place is a great place for the Dead Sea salts. If you like, since you're not going to the Dead Sea minerals and salts, the mud thing and the creams, they are doing lots of things. They have a very famous brand here called Dolmen. It's a very good brand with all the certificates and these things. They say every time you put the Dead Sea things on your body, you feel 10 years younger.
There you go, Marty.
Okay. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this talk. That coffee, the strong coffee, the Turkish coffee they call it, but we call it local coffee. We don't have coffee. We don't grow coffee. We import it, and the way we toast it, the way we add cardamom to it, and we make it fine grind, very like powder. And it's boiled with water a couple of times, like you put it on the stove, it comes up, take it off the stove, it goes down, and put it again on the stove 3 times, So it becomes like strong, dissolves in the water, becomes strong coffee with the flavor of the cardamom. So usually you are served the coffee in cups with a handle. You drink it. You leave the last part, which is the thick part, the bottom. Some of our mainly ladies, when they are like chatting, like friends chatting, even men sometimes, they like to flip the cup at the end with the thick material and leave it for a while so it will dry inside the cup. So it becomes with these shapes, lines and shapes inside. They start telling fortunes with that. So they tell you, I see a fish, you have a big catch coming up. You win the lottery or something. So usually nice things. They see nice things. So that's our coffee and another solution. On the right side now we're passing a site. Maybe you can see that beautiful ruins of a Roman camp. You see the ruins? It's like a huge square shape Roman military camp that was also used in the Christian times. After the Romans into Christianity, it became a major Christian town called Castron Meta. Castron Meta. Meta was the old name, Castron is the stronghold, like Hassan. Castron Meta. And it has become, in recent years, has become one of the World Heritage Sites by the UNESCO. This one, yeah. Why? Because they discovered a complex of churches. We call it St. Stephen's complex. It's a church dedicated to St. Stephen, the first martyr in Christianity, the one who was stoned. Remember? Who was there watching his stoning? Paul was. Saul, yeah, the persecutor of Christians. And so this church is dedicated to, or named after St. Stephen. Has nothing to do with the stoning or the life of St. Stephen. It's just a name of the St. used. And it dates to the 7th century after Christ. And that's the time when the Muslims were here. So it's an indication that in the early Muslim time, churches were still built. Still being built. And take it like this. These guys from Arabian Peninsula, city of Mecca, and the Muslim Islam started there. They came from there and took this land. And this land was all Christian. So there was a big battle near the Sea of Galilee which ended in the defeat of the Roman Byzantine army, the Christian Byzantine army. So we became under the Muslim control. The Muslims in the beginning, they didn't convert people by force. It was not their interest. But coming from the desert areas to very modern, for them civilized areas, agriculture, and people here were Christians. So if you are a non-Christian living in the Muslim state, you will pay taxes. You know? Oh, sheep, baby. Look at the shepherd. Oh, this is beautiful. إذا لقيت هيك زي هذا. Everybody converted. They can stay, and Islam asks for, if they want to convert, they convert. If not, they can stay, but you have to pay the non-Muslim tax. And that was important for the newly established state at that time. So we see that until the first millennium ended, most of the people living in this land were still Christian. So for about 400 years, majority of people in Syria, Jordan, in Jerusalem, they were Christians but living under the Muslim state. And that changed a lot after a while when the Crusaders came here and establish a kingdom, and then after they left, of course, lots of persecution rules were made against the Christians, especially during the Mamluk and the Ottoman times. So we started to be called minorities, and then special rules even for minorities in the Ottoman times. Now it's good, you know, even though the numbers are small, but it's good relations, let's say. We can say one of the good examples in the Middle East. Syria was a very good example, by the way. Well, was and still, because now it's security is back to most of their cities. So I can go to Damascus. Yeah, I'm planning a trip there. By car, yeah, we can go by car. It's southern part of Syria is safe because it's under the government authority. When you have government authority, there's more. You know, these soldiers report to somebody. But when you have militias everywhere, there's no rules, no law for it. And that's the case, unfortunately, near the Turkish border and the Iraqi border. Yes. You can see the beautiful sheep and goats. Imagine how many times Jesus mentioned the sheep and the shepherd in his teaching. Now, when you come to the Holy Land and see, I know you have sheep, many countries have it, but the way we do shepherding here is very biblical. And you will see that as we meet these shepherds on the way. Small to medium-sized flocks. We're not talking about huge flocks. Like some of my friends in Australia deal with sheep. They say we have a helicopter. We want to show you the national flower of Jordan on the side of the road. The black iris. We are lucky because this blooms only for 2 weeks. It's in danger.
The national flower. Yes, only blossoms 2 weeks out of the year. Yes. That's why he stopped, because it's so unusual.
There's not fire in.
If I were out there in that picture, it would be titled "Blooming Idiot." That was not on our itinerary.
Thank you, Faisal. He spotted those flowers. This 2 weeks, next week it will be dry. This is endangered, you know, guys. We don't pick it. So, yeah, 2 weeks in April. Thank you. Go ahead. Jared? And there is like a door for it, but without really a door, it's just an opening. This is called the sheepfold door. Sheepfold door. And that is without something to close or open. Why? The shepherd himself sits on the wall to block the sheepfold door. And so any animal that wants to attack his sheep has either to go over the wall, which is hard, or to go by the shepherd, crossing the shepherd, and he can protect his sheep. I am the sheepfold door. No one enters. Yeah, he's at the door. They have to go through him. Another biblical one. So we're getting into this town, which we will, from here, I will take you like five minutes. 5 minutes to the south, less than 5 minutes. Faisal will take us to see this beautiful view. You want to do that? Kodak moment? Although I can see it's, we're gonna try, okay? It's sandstone blocking some of the view, but let us try. And then we come back through this town to cross the King's Highway again to والله في أكثر ما تتكلم. With the count to 3, you open your eyes. Okay, not before that. So when you hear the count to 3, you open your eyes, and I think you will like it. So, ready? Okay, we'll take it easy. So don't open yet. Don't open yet. Okay, don't open it. 1. Not yet. Not yet. 2. And 3. Like it? This is also very biblical. This was called the Arnon. The Arnon in the Bible was always mentioned in the Old Testament to describe borders. It works great for borders, yeah? One kingdom on this side, the other kingdom on the other side. So, like, the Moabites controlled the area all the way to the Arnon. A-R-N-O-N. Arnon. And today we call it Wadi Al-Mujib. Al-Mujib. M-U-J-I-B. So we are going to stop you for like 5 minutes. It's also one of the towns mentioned in the Bible as a Moabite town. It was called Dibon. I want to show you through the buildings here the Tel Divan. I don't know if you've ever heard the term Tel. Yeah, we pronounce it Tel with an A, but you may find it written with an E in some places, Tel, because the archaeologists who work in the tells, they pronounce it as Tel usually in their dialect. But in the local dialect, it's spelled with an A, like written like T-A-L, Tel. Tel means a hill. Usually it's an archaeological hill. Look to your left now. In a minute, between the homes you will see the top of an archaeological hill, like a hill with some excavations. Don't worry, we will make it. Welcome to Jordan. Maybe, yeah. Close your eyes.
You weren't able to go and you went.
Okay, look to your left now.
That's right.
See the tell over there? Huge tell with lots of excavations on the top. Do you see it? So, okay, try again here. If you couldn't see it, I will show it to you from another view now as the road. Remember that stone I told you in the Louvre? It was found here on top of this Tal Divan. We call it Tal Divan. It's the name of this place. The town is Divan, D-H-I-B-A-N. D-H. So we call it the. You don't have the. It's like T-H if you want the. We have this letter in our D-Bank. Exactly. If you look to your left now, you can see that hill coming soon behind these homes. You see the hill behind it.
Yes.
With some stones on the top of it. This is the Tel D-Bank. This is the place where this town used to be in the Bible, and it was the capital of King Misha the Moabite. This king in 2nd Kings, he was described by the authors from the Old Testament, the side of the Israelites. He was described as a shepherd herder, not like a leader of these people, but that's like he's like a nomad. So like this shepherd herder revolted against him, and he refused to pay the tribute to Israel. So then he defeated Israel. In his stone, he talks about also the same story, but from his point of view. They discovered that stone covered with sand. It's a stone like, let's say, 4 feet high and about a foot width. It's made from, or comes from a black basalt stone, which is a volcanic, strong stone. And one side of it has like an arch shape on the top, and one side of it has 33 lines of inscription. Very heavy stone. So when they found it, they couldn't move it. They just found it, and they said, well, maybe some believe there are treasures inside, because it's a huge one. Others believe that they just found something important. And it happened that that period, one of the missionary guys, the French German, let's say, he had the German system. His name was Klein. He was coming from Jerusalem, passing this area. We're talking 1868. At that time, this region was under the Ottoman authority, and in Jerusalem they had embassies for Germany, for France, for the Ottoman Empire, Germany. Embassy in the Ottoman Empire, in this land, or councilage, I would call it. So this guy was in his way east, and he saw these Bedouins with their discovery, and he immediately knew that this is important. He promised that I will go back to Jerusalem, convince my people to send you money, and I'll take it from you. I'll buy it. So he went back to Jerusalem, and it seems like it took a long time negotiating with his counselor when the news started spreading. And it reached this French guy called Clermont. Genau. He was in Jerusalem too, and he was quicker than the German guy. So he sent one of his friends, an Arab. He said, go to Liban and see if you can make an impression of the inscription, and negotiate with them. So he came here, and he had a paper and a pencil. So he made first a scratch. You know, when you use the pencil with you get the rubbing, yes. And then he made this impression, which is like a very like a dough, paper dough. You put it on the inscription, and you let it dry, and then you peel it off. And there was a fight that broke between the Bedouins as the paper was drying. So he peeled it quickly. It came out like 3 pieces. He had the scrubbing paper, and he took it back to Jerusalem. So while they were sending the money to buy it, this French guy managed to get the money. The Bedouins thought that now the news spread, and the Ottomans, the authority will come and take it from us. So we have to hide it. But they couldn't move it. So they decided to break it into pieces. Ooh. They heated the stone to a high temperature, and they poured water on it. So it cracked into 3 major pieces and some small segments. And they had each one in one of the homes of the Bedouins, or tents of the Bedouins. And then this guy came back with the money, and he managed to get two of the big pieces, or sorry, 3 of the big pieces, and some fragments, missing some. He took what he could, and then a guy from England came, and Sir Warren, he bought some of the small segments. Both of them, the French and the British, donated their pieces to the Louvre the next year. So the Louvre could put it again in a shape with the missing parts. But thanks to the impression they made and the rubbing paper, that we have the full inscription before the stone was broken. So that's where the translation comes from. And so for biblical scholars, this is one of the very rare and important discoveries that they will be searching for. If you are a biblical archaeologist, you will be glad to find something like this, because it mentions the word Israel. I took back the land from Israel. And this is one of the few sources outside the Bible that mentions some details about biblical events. So there's still a dispute about Moses' journey, how to prove it historically with evidence. No evidence was found so far. We say so far. That's an important thing. So we have people asking for the French to send it back. That it should be in Jordan. Again, it's hard to do that. What the Louvre did, actually, they made 3 copies of it and sent it to us to display in our museum. Fortress or the remains of the fortress of Mukawer. In Arabic signs, you will see the word Mukawer, M-U-K-A-W-E-R, Mukawer. Josephus mentioned it with the name of Makairos. It was one of the Herodian castles. You may also visit some of them in Israel, like Masada, Herodium. Here in Jordan we have Makairos. They were all built by Herod the Great. before him Alexander Ianios, but the buildings that you see today would be the Herodian era, and they were all attacked by the Romans when the Jewish revolution started in Jerusalem 68 to 70 AD. So most of them were attacked by the Romans, by Titus, the one who destroyed the temple in Jerusalem, or the second temple. The first temple was destroyed by the Babylonians. The second temple was destroyed by the Romans. And Titus sent his army to fight with the people here in Mukawer as well, because they were also part of the people who revolted against the Romans, the Jewish community. And it was the site here was the border between Herod and Antipas. If you remember our talk in Petra about the beheading of John the Baptist, we said that Herod Antipas was married to the princess of Petra. And the border between Petra, Arabia, the kingdom of Arabia, and Herod was this border, was at the border line. Anything south from here would be in Arabia. Anything north would be under Herod Antipas, the area called Perea. The Bible tells us that Herod Antipas was the king of the Galilee and Perea. So he was king on two different geographical regions. They are not connected together. One of them was the Galilee, where you will be later. The other one was the Perea, which is in Hebrew and Arabic. The word means wilderness. Perea, we say Perea. Perea is wilderness. So it was the area of Jericho, the baptism site we have today. This area was all called Perea, the wilderness. We are told about who's doing the talking here, David? Are you talking about John the Baptist?
Yes.
Same thing, yeah.
Yes.
So that I leave it to you. Talk about the beheading?
Yes, you covered most of my talk.
Oh my God, that's the second time I was told that.
Yeah, we did it twice.
Why don't you come forward? I mean, when we get there, we can make the talk. But this is the place where we believe John the Baptist was beheaded. And we talk about the details of that beheading, the Bible, later. We'll hear it from David, okay? The place though, the fortress is destroyed here. The fortress is destroyed. We found ruins of the palace. They call it Palace of Herod. But there's nothing really much to see. Some columns still standing. And we will see it from a distance. So I think with this view, with this weather, let's wait and see, but we're almost there. This weather is not, not great view from the top. But what happened here makes it so important for us. The beheading of John the Baptist. Why here? Because it was his border, as we said, and he had his birthday party. So it was a place to isolate, to take his friends, his elite, and to do the party. horizon is actually the blue waters of the Dead Sea, but we don't see it today. There you go, on the right, you can see that's the Dead Sea down, should be the, you can see the line between the mountains and the sea. But you can see the fortress now on the right hand. There was the town where people lived was where the churches I showed you before. The soldiers would be in that fortress. And if they have a siege, then everybody will go to the fort. That's what happened during the Roman siege on the castle. In this fort, unlike in Masada in Israel, the people there, their story is that they committed suicide and they didn't surrender to the Romans. This fort, Josephus, the historian, tells us that one of the guys in the fort cooperated with the Romans. And they surrendered to the Roman army, and the Romans went up and destroyed the fort after they were about to build a ramp of stones to reach the top. They started building it, but they didn't have the caves. Some of the caves I was telling you about for the shepherds, you can see on the natural caves on your right hand side now. You see some of them have a wall, and close it, and to put the sheep inside. Sheepfolds. Sheepfold doors. The bicycle, yeah, that lady. Yeah, very hobby. Here they are on the right. See the natural cave. See the wall outside that cave? Stone wall, that cave back there. So these two walls will be smaller, like to fit when the shepherd himself will be sleeping there on the door. So the sheep don't go out, and also any predators, they can't go inside and attack the sheep. Here we are, and they were doing some work with the toilets here.